Okay, good afternoon. This is my second video. It's going to refer to the student packets that y'all received last week. Now, this is what I recommended for parents to do as far as keeping it all organized together. So if by chance, when it is time for us to go back to school and you have to submit the packets, all the packets are together in one binder. Now, going back to the last video, I think I had mentioned that you can either send me the student work weekly every Friday at the end of the week, either through Remind or through email. Now, I would prefer email only because on Friday, my phone was blowing up, which, I hadn't really explained how I wanted it to have been submitted as far as the schoolwork. And so I had like over 100 messages of just different pictures that were coming through. Now, you can do that, but I'm also gonna be more detailed as far as what you can turn in, because I know some of you were turning in, for example, the story to that showed like that your child answered maybe the questions on the side. So I am going to explain that in a little bit. Now, last week, for example, this is ELA. Now, that story that I just showed you, it's actually poetry. Now, it's coming from the student's book. Now, if you show your child this, they're going to remember that they were using that right before the break, and it's a resource that we use all year long from Pearson. Now, if you go to the student packet, it's going to show you a day-by-day outline of what you can be working on at home. So it's going to explain the resource, the assignment, and everything is in the packet. Now, in regards to what will need to be submitted for language arts, when you submit, for example, this Friday, show me or send me the student work, like the vocabulary, the comprehension, that checks for understanding the student's answers to the questions. Okay, so that would be for ELA, and then this would be for spelling. Now, these words reflected last week's words if you're also using Google for extra resources. So that's where I'm getting the spelling words, okay? Like I said, they took it from this resource and they condensed it. Now, for example, this anchor chart, if you ask your child, we would usually put them in our reading notebooks. Now, it's a shame that all their resources are at school, but when it is time for them to go back to school to pick up everything, that's where we basically refer to the anchor charts and we write notes every day on a weekly basis, okay? So that's for ELA. Now moving on to math. Now for math, you are utilizing a resource called Go Math with your child. Now, Go Math is what I was using for homework, okay? Now, in school, we as teachers are trained and we use a resource called Sharon Wells, but we're not giving that, that's not part of the packet. So this also is an outline that shows you basically what they'll be working on every day. Now, as you can see, they were doing subtraction with regrouping. So it's basically 8.1. I think they've assigned it as like a Monday, a Tuesday type thing. So you're familiar with this format as far as the Go Math resource. Now on the Google Classroom, I did add extra resources from Sharon Wells that your child utilized on a daily basis. For example, the basic facts, which is just addition and subtraction problems. I actually have my binder here, and I would time them, like here's a basic facts paper. I would time them because this doesn't take more than like, at max 5 minutes. And then we would review the answers. Then aside from that, there are other sections of the Sharon Wells packet that goes over problem solving, and then skills, which is just a review of what we've taught the children throughout the year. And so those resources, if you want, it's optional, is on that Google Classroom. Now, let me go back to the binder. There is also science, and so this is a little bit more simplified. There's not a lot to do. So you just follow the day-to-day assignment, okay? And the same thing for social studies, okay? I was going to say something else that I just forgot. As far as grades, okay? For example, let me go back to the math. What I was doing this morning is I was checking all the work that was sent to me on Friday, because we just got the email this morning on how they wanted us to be grading. So that's why I sent you the link for the grading policies and procedures. Now, I'm checking basically for student work. So if I see that there's student work, so for math, your child would get a P for pass for that week. An F if I haven't received anything, which is fail, or an I, which means I have had no communication with you, which is an incomplete. They haven't given us, if you go back to that website or that link to the website, it does says that, it did say that more information for the teachers was forthcoming, because they were not specific. That information, we just received it just like you. So what you know, we know. And so I'm assuming that on a weekly basis, because when we go and put grades on Skyward, if you're doing the work, for math, it would be a P. For ELA, it would be a P. For reading, it would be a P. But like I said, they're going to give us more information. So as soon as I find out more, I'll let you know. But that's how I'm keeping track of who's passing and who's failing, because it's just being based on, are they participating? Are the students working? Okay. Other than that, I don't know if you have any more questions, because I know that was a question about what was I grading and how often I was going to be grading, I think. So I hope I answered all your questions. Like I said, if you have any other questions, then go ahead and feel free to text me through Remind, and say hello to your children for me. Thank you. Stay safe.